We all represent the family of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Yeah, I guess we wanted to see if you had a response to the remarks about the Salvador leader at the White House today that he could not help effectuate the return of the Marylanders.
Well, I just want to emphasize a couple points. Number one, the courts of the United States have determined, and the Trump administration has admitted, that he was wrongfully apprehended and illegally deported to El Salvador. Number one. They've admitted that that was a mistake. So you've got a Maryland man who's the father of 3, illegally detained in a notorious prison in El Salvador. And the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, you don't see those very much, agreed with the lower federal court judge, Judge Zinnes, that he had been wrongfully detained and ordered the Trump administration help facilitate his release. Now, I saw the comments of President Bukele, and I look forward to meeting with him. I've requested to meet with him. I reached out to the ambassador here to ask to meet while he's here. But I've also made clear if we can't meet here, I do intend to go to El Salvador to discuss the release of this individual who is illegally detained in El Salvador. And I believe the president of El Salvador will recognize why it's important to allow him to return to the United States of America. You know, the United States and El Salvador have had a strong relationship over many years. The United States provides lots of support to El Salvador. That support is not merely an issue for the executive branch. All of us, as members of the Appropriations Committee, also support whatever foreign assistance budget goes forward. So I believe that the president of El Salvador will reconsider when he understands the full story of this illegal detention. I don't think he wants to essentially be the president who's kidnapped a United States citizen. It was the fault of the Trump administration for sending him there illegally, but he shouldn't spend one extra day in a notorious prison in El Salvador when the president of El Salvador can let him go.
I'd like to comment on that. It is astonishing that the Trump administration continues to pretend like they can't have this man brought back. President Trump could direct him to bring him back. The Attorney General can direct him to bring him back. Instead, it looks like they're trying to force a constitutional crisis and force the Supreme Court to order it directly. But we do extraditions all the time. The United States has people brought back to the United States. Usually they're criminals and there's some kind of indictment over their head. In the instance where this is an innocent man who's done nothing wrong and the government admitted that they made a mistake in sending him, this should have happened days ago, and there's no excuse for dragging their feet anymore.
Senator, when will you make that decision to possibly go and speak with the president of El Salvador?
Well, I'm trying to meet with him. I'm trying to meet with him while he's here. As you know, he arrived just the other night. He came to Andrews Air Force Base in the state of Maryland, meeting with the president. So my first choice would be to meet him while he's here. But if he won't meet or can't meet, I intend later this week to travel to El Salvador and seek a meeting with the president or other government officials, because it is absolutely unjust and illegal to have this Marylander detained one more day in a notorious prison in El Salvador. As Congressman Ivey said, I mean, I want to underscore, of course President Trump could have just said, bring him home. Of course he could have done that. But this is an administration that has lied about Mr. Abrego Garcia, right? The vice president of the United States tweeted out that he had a criminal record. That was a lie. They're just lying. They've gotten caught lying. They don't want to admit it. And they have an obligation to bring him home. But I will say the president of El Salvador should not now take it upon himself to say that he is detaining him for one more day, because that is kidnapping. I understand that the Attorney General said that we would provide a plane to bring him home. So all the president of El Salvador has to do now is hand over and release an innocent man and let him come home to his family.
Let me just add, it is not credible that the president of the United States calls up the president of El Salvador, and the president of El Salvador says no. Just not believable. Here, we are an exceptional nation. One of the reasons we're an exceptional nation is because we honor due process to every individual. They ought to bring this fella home, where he can get due process, and he can show that the administration is either lying or mistaken. We probably share the same view, but it is not credible. Bring him home.
What kind of message does it send if he decides to continue down this road, ignoring the court order, not actually calling on the president of El Salvador to release him back to the United States? And also, if the president of El Salvador refuses to meet with you, what will you do if you go to El Salvador? What would your objective be if he's...
Well, my objective would be to make it clear that people of the United States, people of Maryland, his family, are not forgetting him, locked away illegally in one of the most notorious prisons in El Salvador. So it would be to continue to make sure that we focus on his health and well-being and his release back to his family until that happens. This is unsustainable. I mean, the Trump administration's position, in my view, is absolutely unsustainable, as is the position of the president of El Salvador, if he's going to say that he's not going to release this man who our own courts, 9-0 on the Supreme Court, have said really should be coming home now. And I do want to, I would say, with respect to what do we do, I saw that the families, the lawyers, have asked that the administration lawyers be held in contempt, and I think that's an absolutely appropriate move to take right now. They are clearly just snubbing their nose at the courts, including the Supreme Court. And the courts, in my view, need to exercise their ability to sanction people who ignore court orders. Well, as I said earlier, you can be sure that when the Trump administration submits its budget request, we're talking about the budget request now, for NASA and Goddard, which they've cut, but when they submit their budget request, you can be sure it will include support for the government of El Salvador, for El Salvador. That goes through all of us. That goes through the Congress. And I want to very clearly, diplomatically, but very clearly, let the president of El Salvador know that Congress has a direct say in that support for El Salvador.